This little gizmo is an oxygen sensor simulator, and what it does is it replaces the rear O2 sensor on an OBDII vehicle. So for instance, if you've got a performance exhaust or you do off-roading or something like that and you don't want your check engine light to come on, you can pop this guy in place of the O2 sensor. And what it's got is it's got a power. This comes from the accessory or the 12-volt rail in your car. There's a ground, which obviously gets grounded to the chassis or wherever the return path is. And then there's two black wires here. This goes to a heater simulator. So in case you have a heated O2 sensor, then this will take care of that as well. So it does both passive and heated O2 sensors in the same package, which is a lot more convenient than other options, which you would have to buy two discrete packages for. The signal lines, there are a blue and a white line. This is blue and white because I drive a WRX, and these are the colors in my O3 WRX. So the signal line is the blue line, and the ground reference is the white line here. And the signal that comes out of them mimics the O2 sensor signal that you would see and expect in a normally operating OBDII system without a turbo back or without an exhaust system put on the car. So let's take a look at what the signal looks like coming out of this so that you have a feel for what it's actually doing, and then I'll explain a little bit about how the oxygen sensor is working and what this does to replace the oxygen sensor with respect to the ECU in the car. Okay, so I'm going to hook up now to the reference, which is the white on this, and the blue, which is the signal. And we're going to take a look at what this looks like over on the oscilloscope. So we'll be looking at what the ECU is actually seeing from this thing, and then you'll understand what it's doing so you're more comfortable with how it's working. So what we're looking at here on the oscilloscope is we're looking at the output of that circuit, the output of the signal line, and you can see it goes from between 0 and about 0.8 volts or 0.9 volts. And this really mimics the zero crossings that you'll see in an oxygen sensor. You can see you have the 0 right here, which is the trigger of my scope, but this is simulating basically where the 0 would be as far as the ECU is concerned. And what the ECU is doing with this rear oxygen sensor is it's counting the 0 crossings, and it expects these 0 crossings where this line goes up in the signal. It expects that to be at a lower frequency than the front O2 sensor. So it compares the two. It does 0 crossing counts and then compares them to identify which is greater, and the rear should be up less than the front. The suspect's an O3 WRX wagon, and I do a whole lot of off-roading in this thing, you know, so I've got to have my O2 sensor simulator, and I'm going to try and take a look at it right here in the dark before I start the car. It's a little dim, but you can see it there on the floor. I pulled it in through the firewall so that it's in the passenger cabin so that we can take an easy look at it, but usually it's sitting underneath the hood. So I'll start the car. Well, that's pretty neat. But what makes it most neat is the fact that it has these 8200K white LEDs. It has two of them, and one of them blinks. And we all know how that is a very important feature of having an O2 sensor simulator, is to have the blinking LEDs not only blinking, but in a very nice color.